Is it really too much to ask to go to Anfield and come away with a result? Too much too soon, maybe? Chelsea go to the red side of Merseyside and come away 2-1 losers. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. Essien! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the
Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is your Chelsea match review, but more specifically, a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance at Anfield. But before I get into any of that, I need you guys to help me by hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, hit the bell notification button. Been doing a good job of it lately. You can do a better job of it from here going forward. We're trying to grow this channel, and we can only do it with your continued support. But without further ado, let's get into the review. Fam, I'm just gonna be real with you, man. I was unable to watch the game live. I was on a flight back from a show, and all I was able to do was just get live text messages and like messages on X and whatnot, and that was all I was able to follow throughout the match. And I just watched it back now, and I'm doing this review after my first viewing, which is not something I normally do. Sometimes I wait for the emotion to be taken out of the game to watch it again and then properly assess it tactically. But obviously coming out of that game, I already know the result. I already knew some of the talking points that I had to look out for, and I came away from that game feeling like Chelsea could have gotten something out of the game. I thought the result was right, 2-1 Liverpool. I thought that of the moments that were created, Liverpool capitalized on the moments that impact big games at this level. Chelsea didn't get enough of the rub of the green. And when you go to a place like Anfield, you can't go there thinking that you're going to be getting calls. You can't go there expecting calls. You can't go there expecting, the right decisions to be made time and time again. This is a very hostile environment. Referees are under an immense amount of pressure, and oftentimes they cave to, the demand of the people that are screaming in their ear. And, say what you want about Liverpool, they have a propensity of influencing decisions for referees. So if you're Chelsea, you go into a match like that, you have to make it an undeniable performance. You have to make it a performance that, the decisions that go against you don't impact it in any way, shape, or form. You're still coming away getting the result. You essentially have to win the match outright. You can't have it living on a knife's edge and hoping for things to fall your way, because it's just not how things go at Anfield. We've seen it time and time again, year after year after year. So yeah, Chelsea created some good opportunities, played some good football, got into some interesting areas onto the pitch. So yeah, I thought it was a cagey affair. I thought that both teams had turns being in the ascendancy in the match, with Chelsea probably having about 60% of the control of the game. And it was really just came down to moments where Liverpool had their moments, they took them, and when Chelsea were gifted moments, they didn't. And that ends up being the difference in the 2-1 scoreline, with of course a little bit of controversy baked into it as well. But beyond that, I thought that the game plan from both sides was very, very well executed, and both teams threw wrinkles at each other that were unexpected, with probably Arne Slot's wrinkle being the most effective, and probably why I given him, the tactical edge over Maresca in this match. Like, nobody in their right mind would have thought that Liverpool would have played Chelsea at Anfield and decided to play on the counter. Like, that to me threw me for a loop. I thought anytime Liverpool's playing at home, where they're usually the protagonists, the ones that are looking to probe teams and whatnot, I thought that 100% we're going to see something similar to that in this game, and it was the exact opposite. They surrendered to control to Chelsea, did not press us as relentlessly as they have been pressing their opponents in the opening fixtures, about the opening 7 fixtures of this match. They allowed Chelsea to get on the ball. They allowed Chelsea, to work it into their midfield and get into their second phase of their build-up quite effortlessly on numerous occasions. And yeah, I thought that was going to be the difference in the match. Chelsea's ability to control the play from the middle areas of the pitch, the likes of Caicedo bossing the game, Lavia coming back from injury after 3-4 weeks out, playing an absolute blinder, showing you guys exactly why I think he's most complete midfielder that Chelsea have right now, and playing the type of football that we've sorely missed in that, that first phase build-up play. Just somebody so composed on the ball, somebody that's like got a turn, turn of pace, ability to like shield off the defenders and whatnot, and turn and punch it into our attackers with some real verve and whatnot. He was magnificent in the 52 minutes that he played. We need to see more of him, that much is for certain. But I thought that Chelsea had the ability to get into that second phase quite effortlessly. And I thought that from that point on, it's just a matter of getting it into the likes of Cole Palmer, getting out to the likes of Madueke, getting out to the likes of Sancho, or even having like Jackson drop deep and combining, looking for those third man runs off the ball. Unfortunately, we did not get the same performances that we were hoping to get from our attackers. I thought that Cole Palmer throughout the entire match was muted and poor, just had no influence in the game whatsoever. I thought that Sancho had his moments, but just did not produce enough of them when we really needed him to, turning over the ball, holding on to it a little bit too long. Of our attackers, I thought that the best, our best winger without question was Madueke, but he's just frustrating at times. He does the right things, about 60% of the time, and then the other 40% you're just like left wanting more. And I'm not gonna, again, I don't want to really crash in on anyone today, because I thought that like overall we had a good performance at Anfield, which is something that you don't often expect to see. But I will say there is something left to be desired in Chelsea's ability to be clinical and their ability to take moments when they're presented to them. I just thought that every time we were in a position to really hurt Liverpool's back line, to really get a strong attacking thrust going forward, we made the wrong decisions. There was a time in the second half where I thought that finally Cole Palmer gets on the ball. The decision is obviously to play it outright to Madueke, who's in space and obviously threatening their back line. He decides to shoot, it's blocked, or it's deflected, it goes over the bar. Obviously in most situations you want to have Cole Palmer, not only provide the bullets but take them as well. He's the guy, he's our talismanic figure. I just thought today, when you're considered world-class talent, when you're considered a world-class player, the moments that are presented to you, you have to make the right decisions at the right time. And like still left waning a little bit there in the biggest games, the ones that are most intensely fought, where they're just hanging on a knife edge. You need your talismanic figure to be the guy for you. I felt like we were lacking in that regard, with regards to, Cole Palmer just deciding the match for us. He just muted performance, and in the opportunities that he was on the ball, the decision making wasn't really quite there. I did want to quickly touch on Chelsea's tactical deployment today under Maresca. Obviously a few wrinkles thrown our way at, when the lineups were announced, with obviously Reece James, our captain, coming back in the fold and playing a great game in the 52 minutes that he was on the pitch. The switches of play, the crosses, the physicality, the reading of the game was still a little bit slow and whatnot, but we expect him to be, the Reece James that we all know and love in the coming weeks. This is obviously a good building block for him. And we also saw the return of Romeo Lavia, and I really don't need to speak on him. I'm sure you guys all understand how much I really respect this guy as a footballer, and how much I'm wanting to see him in this Chelsea setup, for quite some time. He's the most complete midfielder we have. But I did predict that what we were going to do tactically was basically play out with a 3-3-4. Now, of course, I didn't have Reece James starting. I actually had Vega and Gusto, and my understanding was I just didn't want to see Chelsea, give too much space to their wingers, where I thought they're their most dangerous, by inverting one of our fullbacks. So I thought that Chelsea were going to basically play with a 3-3-4, with Vega making up the back line alongside, Tosin and Colwell, and then put, Gusto in that half space. I thought tactically we set ourselves up quite well. We nullified their threat out wide while controlling the middle of the pitch, which is not an easy task against Liverpool at Anfield. I think part of it had to do with how they decided to press us. They went with a mid-block and tried to, put most of the pressure on the back line while leaving space for the likes of Caicedo, Lavia, and Gusto to get on the ball. And we didn't have a great performance from Colwell or Tosin, for that matter. We'll get into that later. But I did think that their ability to punch it into our midfielders, the likes of Caicedo and Lavia and Gusto, gave Chelsea the ability to bypass 4 of their attackers with one fell swoop and get 3v2 opportunities in the midfield. And, that's how we seized control of the match. But we were just unable to sustain any real pressure going through the middle of the pitch. Now, like I said, I'm not going to crash on it too heavily. I thought for the most part, we gave a good account of ourselves at Anfield, especially with an unfamiliar backline. But that is one thing that I did want to touch on. One of the things that I thought were problematic with how we wanted to play. We just had a very unfamiliar back five from the likes of Sanchez, Tosin, Reece James coming back from injury, Gusto, a right back playing at the left back, and then of course Colwell, who of everyone in that back line I thought had the most ineffectual game. He was poor, let's just be real. But I think a lot of that is attributed to just not having a settled back line. Like when you have guys that understand each other's tendencies and understand, have a semblance of how they want to play with each other, it's a different game. You're not necessarily thinking as heavily as you are when you're playing with somebody that you're not familiar with the likes of Tosin and Colwell. And of course, Reece James coming back into the fold for the first time in God knows how long. Gusto playing on his offside. It's just too many things that are just offsetting when you're thinking about building, a cohesive unit, right? And we didn't have to depend on them too heavily, obviously, but the moments that we needed them to be solid and whatnot, we just had too many missteps. Whether it be Colwell for the penalty or, Tosin not reading the play well enough, obviously could have been sent off in the first half. And, for the second goal, I thought that he was at fault for that as well. Just, again, not switched on enough, not aware of what's happening around him. Of course, Jones crashes the box, and by the time he turns and realizes that his man is just crashing the box, it's too late. I'm a firm believer and unwavering in my conviction that when you pair Colwell with Fofana, you have a solid partnership there. Two people that complement each other quite well. So going forward, these things are not going to be issues because I feel like those two have an understanding of how they want to play with each other. And not to crash it too heavily on Tosin, I just don't think that he has the necessary skill set to be the type of center back that we need him to be. His ability to read plays and make the right decisions in those split-second moments is just not quite there. He's not done poorly. He's done okay given given his skill set and given the assignment that he's been given, basically a squad player, come in and fill some minutes for us when we need him to, get in the cup games, spell some guys here and there. He's done that role specifically okay. It's just when you start thinking about what you need to challenge at the top of the table, and the processing, the quick thinking, the assuredness in the back, he just doesn't have it. What we have in a partnership right now with Colwell and Fofana needs to grow. We need them to reach their apex in order for us to be where we need to be as a club, because what we have in reserves right now is not really pushing the needle for me, unfortunately. But I do think I'm gonna wrap it up there. Ladies and gentlemen, Chelsea once again go to Anfield and cannot get the result. I'm livid. There's one place that I hate going to and not getting 3 points. It's there. It's just, their supporters are just so annoying, and it's a place where every time it's just like a shroud of controversy. Like clearly, you cannot tell me that Sancho was not fouled in the box. I'm not here to talk about refereeing decisions. I mostly focus on the tactics. But that to me is a foul. And then I see, on some videos on Twitter that, even for the penalty, for Liverpool's first penalty, they didn't review the fact that, Jones handballed it before the penalty was even awarded. Like, they didn't go back and look to see if there was a handball there to begin with. So another decision that went against us in that match, and too many of those, and you're just dead in the water. You can't compete. You're fighting against a very, very good side, a very, very well drilled side with some match winners on the pitch, like Salah, a boss in the back like Van Dijk and whatnot. And you just can't win when you're not getting an equal rub of the green. But we move. Lavia, guys, is there any question in any of your minds right now who should be our midfield two if we're playing with two in there? I don't think there's any question that's not left up for debate. If Enzo Fernandez cannot be called upon to play in the biggest matches of the Premier League season, then he's your third choice midfielder. I'm sorry. That's just how I see it. You know, he has qualities and whatnot, but when you need somebody to be more complete, to give you a complete performance, to be defensively sound, and also be one that is able to pick passes, score goals, you know, win tackles, duels, he's just not that guy. You know, he's too one-dimensional to be in our midfield too, you know. So I'm hoping that we look at this game and also the game against Man City, where, for me, our man of the match was all day Lavia. You know, he's got to get back into the fold. Hopefully he can stay fit and find some semblance of form. But, you know, you build a midfield around him. I'm sorry, that's just what you do. And, you know, come at me. Let me know what you guys think. But I feel like our midfield needs to be built around Lavia. But before we can do that, he has to stay fit. We got a midweek game against Panathinaikos. That's a big one. You know, we're going to see, obviously, the rotation again. And then, you know, we got Newcastle after that at the weekend. And that is obviously a big game now. We have to get all 3 points from there. But until then, keep the blue flag flying high and up the Chelsea. Peace.